podcast is powered by monkeyknifefight.com.
Woo! We got a very special debut on this one.
Eureka.
Hey!
We make plays every day.
Every day.
Yeah. We make plays every day. Yeah. We make plays every day.
Every day.
We make plays every day.
Shout out to my Uncle Manny.
We make plays every day.
Woo!
Yeah. We make plays every day.
We in it for real estate and islands.
Plays every day.
You know what I'm talking about?
We make plays every day.
Welcome to the Real Fantasy Playmakers. I am your host, Bogart Scott Free, and we got a very special guest making his debut on the Real Fantasy Playmakers, friend of the show, representing Project Drivel, is my man, Tony Tucker. What's happening?
What's going on? I love that. Shout out to Uncle Manny, buying up all the land in the Philippines.
Let's
Senators, future president.
Yeah, he got my vote. You know what I mean? And
For sure.
Yeah, he's actually he's working on his visa, right? He's gonna run for American president 2024, and he's gonna be running against Mike Tyson. I heard. You know what I mean?
that would be yes. And if it doesn't go to an electoral college, they have to get into the ring and fight.
They duke it out. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And guess what? I think he's dead, but we're bringing him back to life for one moment to be the special guest referee. We're digging up the corpse of Mills Lanes. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Hey, hold on. Is he still with us? Because that's fucked up. I just assumed he was already gone.
I don't know. If you're out of the if you were in the public eye for a long time and then you're out, rest in peace. We'll just go with that. But also, the catch weight, Manny's got to bulk up to 170. Mike's got to starve himself.
Right? Well,
yeah.
Manny, he can get a couple lechons in him, you know what I mean? Just every day, just with the apple in the pig's mouth. He'd be good, you know what I mean? He'll gain that weight in no time. But check this out, Playmakers. On today's episode, you know what I mean? What we're going to be doing here is we're going to get a little bit to know more about our man Tony Tucker. And we're going to get the origin story of Project Drivel. You know what I'm saying? And, it's a very, very interesting and captivating content creator that I've came across, many moons ago. Shout out to Gemmo the Icon. I actually seen our man Tony Tucker on there. And dude was awesome. You know what I mean? This was something in the making for a while now, and I figured, hey, what better time to pull the trigger? And here we are now. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna talk a little bit about your origin story for all the playmakers out there, and we're gonna get a little bit of Super Bowl breakdown / prediction, and then we'll talk a little bit of NFL offseason. You know what I mean? And before we get to all that, we're going to handle this quick housekeeping. Go ahead, follow me at the GMM Network on both IG and Twitter. You can go ahead and subscribe to the GMM Network on YouTube. You can also find our flagship show, the Real Fantasy Playmakers podcast, available on all streaming platforms. Also want to send a special shout out to all the Rum Boys. Shout out to the Pirate Gang. Also subscribe to us on the Rum Boys Fantasy Network. On YouTube. You can also check us out at rumboys.com. That's where you're going to find all our latest, greatest articles from all our innovative sports journalists. Shout out to the gang. We all doing work out here. You know what I'm saying? And a big special shout out to our sponsor, Milk and Honey TX, for all your CBD wellness and all your CBD goodness. Head on over to milkandhoneytx.com and Playmakers. Last but not least, you heard it at the beginning of this podcast. This joint is powered by monkeyknifefight.com. Head on over to Monkey Knife Fight. Download the Monkey Knife Fight app. Use promo code GMM and we'll match first deposit all the way up to $50. Get in on the legal, legit, daily fantasy sports prop action. While it lasts for the NFL, we got one more game to squeeze the juices. Basketball's in full effect. Hockey, we got baseball not too far. It's all going down. Head on over to monkeyknifefight.com. Once again, that's promo code GMM in all capitals. Hey, my man, Tony Tucker. Let them know where they can find you and all that wonderful Project Drivel content.
So Project Drivel, check it out on any podcast platform. We really appreciate on Apple trying to get the subscriptions up there, the ratings, reviews. We talk a lot of football, hoops, and nonsense. Drivel means nonsense, and my co-host is my brother-in-law. We talk a lot of shit back and forth. Not for listening with kids in the car. And I'm most active probably on Instagram, getting on there, posting up. Follow me, I'll follow back. I like to engage and leave comments and stuff like that. We're also on Twitter, and I'm enjoying this new app I found called SportsMe, which is a lot of fun. I'm on there, always posting stuff too. So get at me.
Shout out to everybody that's rocking with that SportsMe, man. I just downloaded and I haven't yet to jump into the arena yet. You know what I mean? But it's actually really awesome. I like it's like a quick hitter debate. You know what I mean? You just get in there, bing, bing, bang. You know what I'm saying? Some battle action. You know what I'm saying? Unofficial sponsor of the show. Shout out to SportsMe and Playmakers for all the links to my man's social medias and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? For y'all to find Tony Tucker, we're going to make sure we have it all in the description of this here episode. All right, let's get right to it, Tony. Take me to the beginning. Take me to the beginning of Project Drivel. You know what I'm saying? Let us know a little bit about where you're from. Like where did the vagabond shoes take you? The nomadic ways of Tony Tucker.
So I grew up in. I always tell people, they go, "Where are you from?" I go, "I'm a Youper," and they're like, "Huh?" They've never heard Youper before. Youper is what we call people from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up there. That's where my mom's family was. Like, she left my old man in Florida, took me and my brother back to where she was from in Upper Michigan.
She did you guys a favor? She was like, "We got to get out of Florida by any means."
Well, I mean, we were living in West Palm Beach area, like not the nice side of it, but like the part where, like, there's pictures of me with corner girls, prostitutes and stuff as a kid, where like my mom was just like,
"I got to get my babies out of here."
Yeah, it was like my mom was like going into the store and they'd be like, "Oh, he's so cute. Look at his dimples, his curly hair." And there's just pictures of me with and I'm like, "Mom, what are these ladies wearing?" She's like, "I don't know, your dad." And just crazy stuff. It was good to get out of there.
Dad sounds like a pimp. Was your dad a pimp?
Oh no, my dad. I don't know. My dad's a scumbag. I have no love for the man whatsoever. He littered children up and down all over the place. I don't want to talk about my dad. Let's stay on the positive. Yeah. I grew up.
We'll have that stricken from the record.
You can leave it in there. I don't give a shit. I'll set it. I'll tell him. Man owes me a bunch of money in child support. Anyways, I grew up in Upper Michigan. It is cold. The thing to do up there is play hockey. So that's the other thing too. When I tell people, they look at me and they're like, "You're kind of a big dude, whatever. What'd you play in football?" And I was like, "We really." We had football, but the sport to play was hockey. They
didn't think you were graceful on them skates, huh?
Exactly. You just don't see a lot of brothers on the ice, and so when they see me,
I'm from San Jose, and our Sharks, we actually have brothers on our team. So you know what I mean? It's kind of awesome. The San Jose Sharks, we're trailblazers here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is this is 30 years ago.
Yeah,
true. This isn't now, where it's become a little more accessible, still not enough. But so I'm up there and I'm playing hockey. I always craved to go elsewhere and sort of blend in more because I stuck out a lot there. It's 99% Caucasian. And I just wanted to go somewhere where I could blend more. And I look Puerto Rican, like a mixed kid, I got the long curly hair. So I
get the same thing too, bro. I'm Filipino. They always think I'm Puerto Rican or some shit.
Well, I'll say this. For a Filipino, you have the deepest voice of any Filipino I've ever heard.
Well, would it be better if I talk like this?
Yes.
Tony.
I know my mother-in-law just stayed with us, and I love to do impressions of my mother-in-law, and And my father-in-law, like there's very sweet, soft-spoken people until you get like a big room of them together or a manny fight or something, and then it's loud and chaotic and fun.
And it's crazy, as quiet as they are, they're also deaf. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's odd. Like, I gotta call my mom's name 8 times before she acknowledges me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I'm always like, Rafina, and she's like, And I'm like, your food's ready. I said it's good over here. Tony, why you not telling me that my food is ready to eat, Tony? And I'm just like, Rafina, I said like 5 times. She's like, but you're not telling me. You need to come into my room. I'm just like, okay.
I know. Come on, man.
She's the greatest. I love my mother-in-law.
That's awesome.
So I grew up in the UP playing hockey, but I want to get out. I want to go the other sport I played that I excelled at was tennis. Like I was all-state honorable mention tennis player. Won.
He was like, yo, put me in the sport where there's 0 black dudes. Like,
yes. I had Arthur Ashe and like Anson Carter were like the only 2 people that looked like me that played the sports I played when I was little. And so like my brother, this is like 9/11 happens and school gets canceled because I was in my first year at a university in my hometown. And 9/11 happens. My brother comes out like Martin Luther King. I'm in the living room taking a bong hit, watching just the craziest thing go down that I had ever seen. And he's like, bro, I had a dream. And I was like, what are you talking? He's like, I had a dream. He's like, we're going to LA because my brother had a contract to model out east, but he didn't want to model. He wanted to try his hand at acting.
Yeah.
And so he was like, we were all ready to go out to New York. And my mom had already moved out to Virginia with her boyfriend and was living in the Norfolk area. And my brother's like, I had a dream. We're moving to California to Los Angeles. And we come from a small town, 27,000 people. I was like, oh, man, I don't want to go somewhere I don't know anybody. Like, I heard you listen to Tupac
Yeah, just
all
LA
these
is a
guys.
beast.
It's just like, I don't want to go to Compton. Like, I don't want to be wearing the wrong color and just end up, in a bad place. And he's just like, we're going. Because that was the other thing, too. Like, we ended up coming out to LA at, like, I was 19. My brother was emancipated minor that I was taking care of. He was on probation for some dumb stuff that he got blamed for. So we get the approval, we leave, we start heading west, we're driving out, we were kind of young hippies, cruising across. We end up in Tahoe, we find out it snows, and we're like, shit, we just left 8 months of snow a year, we can't live here. We go to San Diego, and the reason we picked San Diego is because the only places we could afford in LA was like Watts, like all these things that you hear in a Dr. Dre album, you're like, I'm not fucking with that. I don't want to go live in these areas.
Yeah, so Watts. You talking about Watts? Oh, yeah. This shit hood out there than a motherfucker. Yeah, but okay, go ahead. Continue.
But it was just like, for us, it was just intimidating. Once we got used to these areas, there's actually like a lot of fun and culture to be had. But the only things we knew were the stereotypes that was given to us by mainstream media.
Oh, yeah.
So we would live in El Cajon, and then we would drive up to L.A., and we would check out the city. Like we were either go to L.A. or Tijuana because you go back and forth on the border back then.
Easily, yeah. That was when TJ's was dirty, too. Like, because now, like, they gentrified the fuck out of it. It's, like, actually not – it's actually, like, nice. It's still grimy as far as, like, what goes on there. But, yeah, it looks a lot better these days.
Yeah, no, I haven't been down there, I don't know, probably 17, 18 years. And it's for that reason. Once you start to get more established, and once you're 21, there really wasn't a reason for us to head down there anymore.
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, we can get tacos and, cervezas on this side of the border, too. So we just didn't – we stopped going down to TJ. Anyways, I'm out there. I always wanted to be a writer. Like I wanted to be like the Black Jack Kerouac, like just some dude who like traveled around and chronicled his stories and, like had all that stuff.
That's awesome.
And my brother I'll fast forward a little bit. So my brother gets an audition for a short film, and he doesn't get the part, but they say, hey, because it's called the Pretty Boy Project. It's about these 3 young mixed kids live with their mom in a trailer, and they travel around hustling people by double dutch. It was like a really ridiculous comedy movie.
That's tight.
And so I go there to audition for that. I book the part, I do the movie, and I wasn't really like thinking I was going to get into acting and being in front of the camera. I always wanted to write. But the movie does good. We actually went up to your neck of the woods, the San Francisco Film Festival. We were honored for some awards. I got to meet Alicia Vega, the actress from Queen of the South.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Came and told me how adorable I was. I was just like, this is
killing it with the
one
dimples.
Of the most fantastic moments in my life.
I'm a man with dimples, man. I'm a man with dimples. And so, it's like a regular occurrence growing up that a beautiful woman would say, hey, you're adorable. You know what I mean? It's just the dimples, man. I'm telling you, like my son got my dimples, and I'm just like, ooh, I'm so excited for him. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're gonna be all right, kid. You know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, you hit him with the smile. They start having like AC Slater flashbacks, and they're like, okay, all right.
I'm like AC Slater with Zach Morris game. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice. That's a good combo right there. I look like AC Slater let himself go. Like, I look like AC Slater invested in carbohydrates.
Hey, I like that.
So we do all. We start getting into like more auditioning and stuff like that. Living in LA, and I started about 12-13 years ago. I started my own sports show called Fan Addicts, and I started building the prototype on a website. We didn't have all these crazy apps.
Yeah.
So I start building this thing where it's similar to what Sports Me is. It was, you come on, you give your opinion, somebody gives their opinion, they each have 60 seconds, and then the site would have judges. Each month you'd have judges that would come on and award points, and fans could agree, so there'd be a fan vote, but then there would be 3 deciding votes of monthly judges, sports fans on the show. It was like, I had this whole thing laid out. I could never get it out.
Sports Me ripped you off, man.
Sports Me is just like, they have the ability to have all the apps and all the technology. All of my stuff was on the internet, and we couldn't ever find the right plugins for the site, so it was always crashing. So we would put up these different debates or whatever it was, but the site could never function, and I never got the right money or funding to get it to the next level. So I would do my sports show on YouTube, and it was starting to get kind of popular because I went on MySpace. This is how long ago it was. I was on MySpace.
Shout out to what was dude's name?
Tom.
Tom, yeah.
Shout out to Tom.
The ever elusive Tom. You know what I mean? Like,
So I'm getting like 400 to 500 views a week on MySpace, and this is early that's really
YouTube,
good.
I mean, that's really good.
I'm getting good traffic. I'm getting comments. I'm also writing for Bleacher Report before they sold.
Wow, Bleacher Report.
Early Bleacher Report. I was one of their featured writers. I used to do for a Yahoo contributor. I used to write articles for them. And but my sports thing is taken off. But the thing in the show was I would do these comedy sketches. So we did, one of the most popular ones was like a T-Mobile Fave 5, and it was Plaxico Burress calling his lawyer after he shoots himself in the leg. He's calling his favorite 5 people in his phone. It's a really funny sketch. If I can find it, I'm going to share it on my Drivel Instagram one of these days. But I would do like sports or like commercial parodies, and I would have my own commercial break in the show. And those actually started to take off more than the sports show, because the problem with sports content then, and still to this day, is if it's not fresh, it really doesn't play. Because the sports cycle goes so fast.
Yeah, that's why I love the off season, to be honest with you, because like things have more shelf life. You know what I mean? Like I love, the grind of obviously I'm predominantly a fantasy analyst, so the everyday grind of the fantasy week is awesome. You know what I mean? But like those things only have like a day shelf life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was really hard because I'd be talking about like young LeBron James' first Cleveland trip. and I'd have to start making predictions about how games were going to go, and then edit around what was right and what was wrong, so it would seem relevant, because it would, like my editing skills weren't as good, so the turnaround time was 3 to 4 days. But
it must have been a bitch uploading too. It must have been a bitch uploading back then. Like, I can imagine it would take hours and hours. Like, I remember 10 years ago, like, shooting music videos and, like, uploading that joint, you know what I'm saying, at 1080p, it would take, like, fucking 6 hours, 7 hours, you know what I mean?
That's no joke. Like, I would finish at, like, midnight, 1 most times, and then I would just let it upload overnight. And if I woke up in the morning and it was, like, read some error, some error
like, fuck,
or
I gotta
whatever.
start all over again.
It just, like, it would ruin my day. I'd be like, so I quit doing that show, and I just sort of, like, I started a production company with my brother called Brothers Tucker Production. We did another movie that I wrote. I was really obsessed with The Hangover, so I wrote a film called Esperanza, Who Impregnated a Hooker, and it's about 4 friends. 3 of them go down to get one of their buddies from Mexico, and they end up having this crazy week. And then they come home. 9 months later, a pregnant Esperanza shows up at their door, the prostitute that they befriended. And she starts messing with them to find out which one of them is the father of her baby.
Wow.
And all of their wives and girlfriends are coming home. It's over the top. It's very Hangover-ish comedy. So we shot the short version of that and had some fun. It was in festivals around and did okay. And then I got into improvisation and started doing a lot of live performing with a comedy team. And I ended up getting agents and managers, started auditioning for commercials and television. I had some success with commercials. And then as of the pandemic started, I just was like, I don't want to continue to do all of these self-tapes. I'm getting self-tapes from any commercial, like most of the commercials out there where you see mixed race or black people in them or whatever, like I probably auditioned for those commercials, right?
Yeah.
I always joke that Jake from State Farm took my gig because when they recast it, I don't think I auditioned for that specific job, but I've done State Farm, Progressive, auditioned for all of this stuff. And it got to audition for some TV stuff, not as much as I would have liked, but just the grind of doing that, it starts to take its toll on you when you have kids. And so we moved, my wife and I bought a house last year outside of the city, and I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to create my own show. Everybody's always saying, when you buy a house, you need a project. Get a project. So that's how I came up with, I talk nonsense in sports, and everybody's like, get a project. But I can't build. I don't have any, carpentry skills or anything. So my project
Jesus?
is this. So it's Project Drivel. That's why I came up with that name for my creating sports kind of thing. So that's the condensed version of my sort of my journey.
That's awesome, because it kind of came full circle from, you doing the sports joint on YouTube initially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a hell of an origin story. So it's just, and then when did you bring your brother-in-law into the fold?
So I tried doing some of the sports stuff on my own, and I really started with basically what I wanted to do was to do a fantasy show. That's how it started. Before it was Project Drivel, it was like this crazy fantasy show, because I wanted to do sort of like a Bob Uecker fantasy character that's sort of like, hey everybody, welcome in this week. Julio Jones let us down again. Like, it was just this really over the top sort of like, remember Bob Uecker in the Major League movies?
Yep.
So
hell yeah.
I was doing that version of him, but again, I was doing fake ads. So I'd be like, come on down to Scooters. This is like Hooters for men in their twilight years. These women are on motorized scooters and they put on a good show. So I'll be doing like fake comedic ads in my show. And again, you can see those on my Drivel. There's like a little, what is it called? Highlight button you can click on, and you can see, those different. I did Snoreos. It's a cookie for when you're sleeping. Let it dissolve in your mouth with Snoreos. I would do these dumb ads, and people would like message me, and they'd be like, "Oh, dude, this ad this week was really funny," and I was like. So again, it was leading towards people enjoying the funny side of it, and I was like, well, I want to talk about sports, so maybe I need to just talk about sports and not be trying to be like a clown,
Yeah. I don't know. I think a little, a little bit of splash of the comedic. Well, plus that's also just in your personality from all the stuff that I've seen on your page, and like even your appearance on Gemmo's show, like, you know what I mean, just your natural personality is already like comedic to a degree, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I really, that feels like a great compliment to me. Like one of the things that I always like tried to do, because there was like a lot of drama and trouble and sadness in my younger life, right? Like I grew up really fast, really hard, being like the oldest son of a single mom. Like I helped out a lot. I started working at like age 8, and like in America, that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like I used to come home after school 3 days a week, and I would help my mom clean apartment buildings just so that we would have more time to be able to spend together as a family. So that way she wouldn't be cleaning apartment buildings late into the evening.
Yeah.
So it was like, you start doing these things. I started learning how to cook and doing laundry and helping my brother with stuff like homework, food, whatever. It's just like you kind of find ways, you're like forced into making it funny. Otherwise you're just miserable all the time.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you start looking at things, and if you could just realize, well, hey, at least I'm alive, you know what I mean? And then you could find the humor in certain things, because like, especially when you have a string of bad luck, like sometimes you're just like, damn, can it get any worse? And like sometimes I just laugh to myself, like, of course, you know what I mean? Like, like the unexpected, that it will happen. I just be like, damn, if I could bet money on it, you know what I mean? I'd be rich. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, okay, continue.
Oh no, I just reminded of something where like, so I helped out a friend one time, and for like canvassing for like state representatives and stuff.
Yeah,
when
so
I was
knocking on doors.
They were like, oh yeah, here's a guy, like, yeah, you can ask him anything or talk to him, and he like came into the political office or whatever. And I remember jokingly saying like, I didn't really have a question. I was like 14, 15 years old. I wasn't going to ask policy. I was like, why do they make the food stamps so hard to rip out of the booklet? Like, it was a genuine question, but also like an attempt at humor with him.
Yeah.
But he just didn't get it. He was just like, oh, well, it's just the material they make it out of. But it's like, in my head, it was like, dude, it's already kind of embarrassing to be tearing out these like oddly colored food stamps, while I'm standing in line. But then you got to make it like impossible to like, could you make the perforation a little bit better? Right. It was an undeveloped bit, but at 14, I was just like, well, I'm going to ask him something I think like he might have fun with. And he just didn't get it. And I was like, well, it's not for everybody, I guess.
Oh man, that's funny. So have you ever, thought about stand-up comedy? Like, was that ever in the suggestion box, like back in the days when you got to LA?
Definitely when I was little. So I used to write stand-up jokes, or what I thought were stand-up jokes, in a book, or like things that would happen. But when you get out to LA, and anybody who listens to this or wants to be a stand-up, like, it is no joke. It is no, like, you don't just, all these guys where you're like, oh, they just happened overnight. Their success was just like, it didn't happen that way.
They're there
like
every night going to the gym, which is like open mics. That's basically working out. Like, these comedians, they're working. You might hear a bit in a comedy special, and it could be a big name like a Joe Rogan or something like that. But like, yo, he was working on that bit for a year, every day, going to a comedy club, tinkering with it, sharpening it up till it's tight. You know what I mean? Nice and tight. And so he can hit it on that special. And then once they hit it on that special and it's recorded, they kind of chuck it and they got to start on a new hour. You know what I mean? Or
Yep.
a new
It's
30 minutes, or you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, man.
It's a grind for sure. Like that, and that was the part to me where it was just like I didn't want to commit that time that it took to put in to be good at stand-up, because you have to go up and fail and be bad and not get laughter. It was kind of what drew me more to trying improv, because at least you're on a stage, you get a suggestion, you're up there trying to create humor with a group of people, instead of just by yourself.
And a group of people that are actually supportive of you. Like, you know, when you go to a comedy club, people might have paid to come in here and, yo, make me laugh. You know what I mean? And if you're not funny, yo, they will not laugh. You know what I mean? Or if they don't get it. You know what I mean? And let alone the hecklers and the booing. You know, it's crazy, man. Like for example, we used to always do punishments for the loser in our fantasy league and one of my home leagues. You know what I mean? Because I make music. You know what I mean? I got a background in music. I'm a producer, artist, blah blah blah, right? But there's a bunch of me and my music guys. We had this league going, and every year, you know, there'd be some kind of punishment. And one year, and I would always, you know, everyone would suggest things and we'd all vote. You know what I mean? And I vote. You know, my suggestions always like would win because I would come up with the most feasible. It would be feasible, but it would also be like terrifying. You know what I mean? Like, for example, you had to go. We knew a guy at the San Jose Improv. He worked the door. He knew the promoters, so he was able to get us in on an open mic night, get us a spot. So, you know, and it happened. You know, it was like early January. So it was like, yo, whoever lost our league was gonna have to do 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was hilarious, bro, because the guy who lost, he actually wrote a bit. He wrote a couple bits, and he really tried to have at it, and like he just didn't stand a chance because, you know, we were booing, throwing actual tomatoes, throwing actual tomatoes at him. You know what I mean? Like, and like it was awesome, bro. And then, you know, ironically, the next year they stopped voting for my suggestions. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I bet.
Yeah, and then they also got mad at me too, like, oh man, well if you lose, you probably go up there and kill it. And I'm like, listen, I have no fear of the stage, but I'm not no stand-up comedian, so you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like I think I'm funny like on the fly, but if I had to put thought into it, and like it's like, listen, I don't know, man. Like it's terrifying. Like, stand-up comedy is a man. Hats off to anybody, and big up to all you aspiring stand-up comedians out there, because you're gonna get booed out of the building, you know, like a handful of times. You know, actually a lot of times. You know what I mean? Get used to it. It makes you better. You know what I mean? And yeah, man. So you got a hell of a journey, man. You are like a not just a nomad, but you're kind of a jack of all trades here. Like you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I like to get in. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, kind of diversify.
Yeah, I like to try as many things as I can, and then like see what I enjoy, what I have the desire to like really put work in. Because what we just said about the comedians and how hard it is, like that really applies to whatever you're trying to do. If you're trying to excel at that thing at the highest level, you then have to go to work all the time. It's like, I want people to listen to the podcast, so I'm like prepping out show notes, you know, like the one thing that I would like to definitely try and get better at is, since it's an audio medium, is being able to paint better pictures, you know, like illustrate. The illustrating with my words, because I feel like that those are the things that I love the best about the podcast that I listen to. So it's like, you're always trying to find ways, if you're in it for real, how you can bring yourself to the next level.
Yeah, and I like that how you emphasize in it for real, because, you know, during quarantine, and you know, I'm not knocking anybody by any means who during quarantine decided, hey, I want to, you know, start creating content. But I will say that did heavily saturate it, and like, so we are in a day and age where there's an abundance of like these cookie cutter type, Mink Shift, talking heads type, you know what I mean? Like, they popped out of the woodwork, and then but as fast as they popped up, they're also dropping out. You know what I mean? So, and if there's ever a message I could send to anybody is you definitely get out what you put in. Whatever you're doing, you definitely get out what you put in. You know what I mean? Nothing happens overnight. Nothing's handed to you. You know what I mean? You got to put in work. You know what I mean? And there is no real cutting corners. You know what I mean? And also, ironically, it's part who you know, and also sometimes it has nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? Like, you could just meet somebody who's on, or you know what I mean? Or you just, you just work hard till you achieve whatever your goal is. But I will say too, whenever you're in, trying to an aspiring actor or comedian or, sports journalist or artist, singer, producer, whatever it is, don't shit on people for the sake of shitting on people, because you never know who that person could be down the road. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, just, I feel like stay humble and stay hungry. And you know what I mean? Like, you might, like, for example, like, maybe, you might blow up and be one of the biggest, podcast producers out here and be like, I got a network now. And I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? I get an email and you're talking about, hey, I would love you to, be on our network. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm so glad I didn't shit on that guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You just never fucking know. And plus also it's just, be a good, we're living in a day and age where, like, I feel like people would much rather be like shitty than, positive. You know what I mean? Like, that's what, because positive doesn't get clicks. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I don't know. I'm a motherfucker who eats a lot of mushrooms. I smoke a lot of weed. I feel like I'm one with the universe. So, like, karma and all that shit is real to me. So I'm always, that's just how I move. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if there's ever a message to be sent, you know what I mean? It's got to be a positive one. You know what I mean? Because that to me, that should resonate more than it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things on our podcast that I at least try to do. My brother-in-law is a little harsher, a little more. But
you need
he
that.
gets a little more negative than I do. I do think you need that contrast, and it's sometimes I'll hear these guys, who look like they've never, played a sport in their life, they've never put themselves out there, competed, and then they'll be like, this guy's a bum, and it's just like, this guy sucks, and I'm like, well, he's one of 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, so like, he's doing his best with limited whatever the situation is. It's like, it feels a little harsh the way that some people talk about it, but they are just trying to get clicks.
Yeah. And you know what? Enjoy your clicks, right? For all you people that are getting those type of clicks, enjoy it while it lasts. Because this is what sucks. This is what happens to these guys. They do a couple things where, like, you get some clicks. Like, say matter of fact, their approach is not even that type of approach. They're like really trying to do some sports type of shit, and then they do some outlandish clickbait type of stuff, and then it blows up and like better than any of their other content. And they're like, oh my god, this is the route. Then next thing you know, you went down the rabbit hole too far, and you're just looking for anything that to slander, or you know what I mean, just anything clickbaity as fuck, just to get, to chase. It's like that high, it's that gratification that people are paying attention. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I would also say this too, that like the people that are the most successful and they have the longevity in the business, which is what everybody should want to achieve, is longevity. Yeah. And if you're there, you'll notice those guys, they're great at making analogies and making them so that they apply to people's lives, or that they're funny. And a lot of times people are like, oh, how'd they come up with that or whatever. No, they're prepping. They're putting in work, and it may have come to them, but they're fine-tuning it. They think about it. Colin Cowherd, before he brings it to the air with one of his crazy thoughts, conspiracies, or analogies, or whatever he does, he fine-tunes that a little bit to then put it out there into the world. And those guys, like Colin, I'm using him as an example, he is harsh on people critiquing them and their ability, and that is his job. is to have that critique.
He also
but he
found
never just
tremendous-
outright says Baker sucks,
Yeah.
like some people on the internet do.
Yeah, he'll have his list. He'll have a list of supporting. What is it like? Of what supporting evidence? Is that the right word? We're going with it. You know what I mean? He'll find
Yes.
supporting evidence to prop up whatever he's saying. Baker sucks. You know what I mean? Instead of saying Baker sucks, you know what that is too? It's the rudimentary cookie cutter shit I was talking about. Like a lot of analysts, quote unquote analysts. Like I didn't even I was in a couple expert leagues, quote unquote, like, in fantasy, and like I always was pet peeved on like expert. Like what makes you an expert? Because you got 10,000 followers? You know what I mean? Like what makes you a fucking expert? Like I like the word analyst because by definition that's what we are. We're analyzing things. Matter of fact, if I start getting paid like real money to do this, I might call myself a pro. Because now I'm getting paid like a professional, right? But an expert, that's just poppycock. That's just dribble. You know what I mean?
That's just true. I like. So I will make one. One little caveat, I guess, to what you're saying is that when you're an actor, one of the things that they tell you is that you become an actor when you
get paid.
Can believe when you can believe, when you can say I'm an actor, right?
Okay.
Because you can do a lot of acting for free, right? You can do theater, you can do local plays, you can act, but you have to believe that I'm an actor and that you're putting in the work to hone that craft. So I would say if you wanted to call yourself an expert, you then have to be able to back that up by showing up to any sort of debate, argument, or whatever, well-researched.
Yeah.
You can't call yourself an expert and then regurgitate what Matthew Berry says, because now you are basically just a middleman for information. So you have to have your opinions on why you believe Cole Kmet, tight end for the Bears, is going to be a sleeper in the 2021 season. It's because his catch ratio was this, his depth of target was this. If you're putting in the work to call yourself an expert, just make sure you can back it up. And sometimes I see people who call themselves experts who aren't coming with the research, or putting in the time or continuing to put out the consistent original
they're getting
aspect.
They end up getting out what they put in, which is little to none, and that's what the result will be. You know what I mean? So like I'm a strong believer in put in the work, you know what I mean? And and enjoy the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you should, like if you don't enjoy what you do, don't fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy putting in the work, especially in fantasy, and the gratification is like, when we're doing these start sit shows and like I'm giving them correct start sits, you know what I mean? Like where it's like then they come back for the information again, you know what I mean? Like fucking fiends, you know what I mean? we got the good dope, you know what I mean? But going back to analogy speaking, right?
Yes. Yeah. They're coming in for the fix. You got him for the dude from the town. I got him hooked up good and proper.
Yeah.
That was a bad Irish accent.
Yeah, but it wasn't so bad Boston wise. You know what I mean? I see where you were going. You know what I mean? Because I'm from the Bay Area. The town is Oakland, so you know what I mean. It'd be like, bruh, we got it, bruh. You know what I mean? But so I knew, I was like, oh, he's definitely talking about the town as in Boston. You know what I mean?
One of the dang it. What's his name? E40? That's the guy from the Bay, right?
Yep. Shout out to Vallejo. Yep.
So I had to put together, one of the cool things I got to do a couple years ago was put together an audition for Saturday Night Live.
Nice.
And yeah, it was a really great honor to be able to submit a tape to them. And I did one of the workshop bits that I did was E40, right? Where it was like, but I did it as Pokemon Go. Like, we're going to Pokemon go. And I was doing this whole bit in the E40 song. And like, it got laughs from like 2 people. because they were the only ones who knew the reference.
Yeah.
Like if one guy was a hip hop fan, the other guy was from the Bay.
Yeah.
But it died in the room.
Yeah, you would have got a standing ovation for me. You know what I mean? Like, see, and that's what's cool about the Bay Area is we're such a melting pot, but, you know, like, we're kind of like the best kept secret in a lot of industries. You know what I mean? Like for example, you know, people love Black Panther. They don't realize, yo, that's a brother from Oakland that directed that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Tupac. You know, a lot of people, they think he's from L.A. You know what I mean? You know, he's basically from the world. You know what I mean? But, you know, he made his hay in Oakland. You know what I mean? So, like, people.
Digital Underground, right?
Oh,
with,
yeah.
Humpty.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Shock G, and you know what I'm saying, and the Digital Underground, man. Like yeah, it's it was awesome growing up in the Bay Area. To be honest with you, you know what I mean? Like it was, like I feel like it made me be able to like do this now, like just sit and talk with anybody. Like my girl always said, she you know she like okay, how about this? For example, we'd always be at parties. I mean, we got kids, you got kids. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, before the apocalypse, as I like to call it, you know, every weekend there was a kids party. You know what I mean? So we were, you know, and I'd be in the dad section drinking, kicking it with the other dads. And then there would be like homegirls that would always be there, and they would never bring, you know, their husbands or their boyfriends. You know, there would always be a few. And then my girl would always be like, oh, I could take my man anywhere. You know what I mean? Because you could stick me anywhere. You could put me on a plane and it's 5 hours. If there's someone interesting next to me, yo, that shit's gonna fly by because I'm gonna be like, yo, what's this dude's deal? You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna, like, it's the same way when I saw you on the Icon show. I was like, this dude's interesting. You know what I mean? I'll probably do a great piece of content with him. I'm gonna reach out. You know what I mean? Like, I think the art of conversation comes from being versed in actual social situations, because the only social situations that a lot of the younger generations is accustomed to is social media. You know what I mean? Like the art of going out and hollering at a female. You know what I mean? I feel bad for these youngsters if they don't necessarily have that in their repertoire, because it's more like before they've ever met a female in real, like physically, they might have already engaged one way or another digitally. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's you know, hiding behind this avatar, it might be easier, and then wait until you get in real person. Are you gonna match the avatar? Like, did you use the right emojis? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I'm like, you know, it's you know, and speaking for me personally, I never, you know, the social media thing occurred when I was already in a serious relationship, and I'm still in that relationship. You know what I mean? So, you know, I never got to use it as a means of destruction, because that's what it would be. You know what I mean? I always tell my boys that was single, man, y'all got it easy, because, you know what I'm saying? That's another way, that's another part of the game now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sliding in DMs and shit like that. I can only imagine, because, like I said, I'm a one-woman man who doesn't use these means of self-destruction, I should say, because that's what it would be. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, for me personally, because it's a dangerous world for a man in a relationship. All this scattered ass, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I just, you know, and for me, I always chose to show my real life. You know, whatever I did show on social media, it was my real life, because that's easy. You know what I mean? Like it's always easier to show the truth. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, bro, like, I think it's a real hard act to keep up, you know what I mean? If you're, you know what I'm saying, you know, whoever you display on social media.
You're seeing, like, now a lot higher rates of depression with people and stuff like that. And I think a lot of that has to do with when you're living in a virtual world, the regular world seems so disappointing, you know, like, if you're looking at all these magical things and you're comparing lives and trying to like create the great moment to share with the world and the right lighting and whatever else, then it becomes a disappointment to walk around in everyday life. If you've been sitting on Instagram watching somebody's trip, you know, to the Bahamas.
Yeah, or even being that person who goes to the Bahamas and spends majority of the trip, like, you know, fabricating these shots, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like this footage, so you could show the world and get these likes that don't really necessarily do anything but appease, yourself. Like, people really enjoy my life, but are you enjoying it yourself? Are you out there, you know what I mean? Just doing it for the sake, like doing it for the gram, as they would say. You know what I mean?
Yes. Everything all the stuff that I put out is meant to engage conversation, right? And I think what you were saying about the party and stuff, if there are young people listening to this, the best two things you can do are to be open-minded and curious about most stuff, right? And that really works out well when you're at a party, because you're not going to prejudge somebody because of ethnicity or the way their clothes or whatever. And then just be curious, ask them questions and whatever. And you'd be shocked how easy it is to carry on a conversation with a total stranger when you're just, what do you do? Oh, I don't really know anything about that. Tell me. Oh, what is this? Oh, that reminds me of this thing. And the conversation starts.
Yeah. And playmakers, and for everybody out there that happens to listen to this, you know what I mean? Wondering what if, that shit's a bitch. You know what I'm saying? So whether you're wondering what if, like, well, what if I was to try to, do this content, or what if I was to try to chase whatever dream it is, right?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. What I always want to say is, don't be afraid to try, because being plagued by what if, that shit's a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, what if I would have tried back then? Or what if I would have known what I know now back then? It's like, listen, we're not time travelers now here. You know what I mean? Like, unless Doc slides through with the DeLorean, you know what I mean? And, we can take this thing to 88 and you really see some shit. You know what I mean? But aside from that, it's like, listen, don't be afraid to try. You know what I mean? Like, I know it sounds corny, but that fear of failure, like, the fear of failure is healthy. You know what I mean? Because that's, if you don't fail, or failing is subjective as well. Like, if you didn't try, then you failed, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree totally. I just real quick jump in and say that, like, I used to be a lot in the what if mindset, because I was always like, man, what if I would have just not been nervous or shy to try acting before I had a wife and kids, and I had more time to network and audition more and get out and do these things, right? I didn't really get an agent and get into it seriously until after I already had children, right?
Yeah, because you kind of feel like compelled, because, like, trust me, take it from me, man. Like I said, I was an aspiring artist for a long time, and when I couldn't make LA trips every weekend because I had my first kid, it was like, okay, I had to prioritize. Like, what am I going to be? Am I going to be exactly like my favorite rappers? Because all my favorite rappers, they were shitty dads. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. What, you know what I mean? Like, so then like you said, then you felt like, okay, maybe the door of opportunity is closing, this window of time. So then you start thinking a little more sharper. Like, hey, you know what? I should get an agent. You know what I mean? That way I could be at home with the kids and the agent's out there doing the work, trying to find, you know what I mean? You're just kind of, you're double timing, or in some people's case, maybe they feel like they're making up for lost time. Like, you know what I mean? Or maybe time that is going to be taken away from them. Like for example, I'm about to have my fourth kid, and I always make a joke that, like, well, I got to do it now because I'm about to sit down for a while. Like, it's like doing a bid. Like, fuck, I'm about to go in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be, a solid, like, my son, he's 2 years old. And, we're about to have another one, this summer. So it's like, I'm going to repeat that whole cycle again. You know what I mean? Where it's like, the first year when my son was born, I kind of put everything to the side, and it was like, okay, here I am. You know what I mean? Now my son, he's 1 year old. Then I was like, okay, now I can really I can start moving around again. I can wiggle a little bit. You know what I mean? And then, now he's 2 years old, and I'm about to rinse and repeat and start the whole cycle over again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? So,
hopefully this one will be sleep trained by next fantasy season, like by the kickoff of the 2021 season.
You know what's crazy is I actually thought of this. So, my daughter, God forbid anything happens, but yeah, my daughter will be born in June. And then, so that puts me at, she should be around 3 months by the time kickoff. But then I also thought, listen, all my kids were all creatures of the night, like their old man. You know what I mean? Definitely,
don't jinx it.
listen, no, I'm saying, yeah, I know, but I'm saying, no, I've sacrificed, if, men have to make sacrifices, and sleep is always at the top of the list. It's always the easiest, like, all right, I just won't sleep tonight. You know what I mean? Like, if I got to do the work or I got to crunch the numbers or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and I could always, like, okay, cool. I'll let my girl sleep. I'll do the night shift. You know what I mean? And I got the baby. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I have no problems, doing so. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, if I got to stay up because I'm already going to stay up. And, it isn't so bad, too, with an infant because, they're just right there. You know what I mean? It's not like, like right now with my 2-year-old, it's crazy because he's everywhere. Like, his nickname is Gunna. You know what I mean? Like not gun like he's like a shooter like Gunna, but like Gunna as in like he's gonna knock that over. He's gonna climb that. You know what I mean? He's oh shit, he's gonna go fall down the stairs. You know what I mean? Like he's young Gunna. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. But I also I'm not the most religious person in the world. And I wasn't really as spiritual either until like I really started dabbling heavy in psychedelics, around like 2011. You know what I'm saying? Until now. And like, so like, I believe in something greater, and I believe like, the universe or God or whatever, Allah, whatever label you want to put on it. I feel like there's something greater out there that will only put me in positions that I can handle. So I used to always be like, shit, why didn't I get no record deal? Or maybe I couldn't handle it. You know what I mean? Maybe something greater out there knew like, hey man, you give this kid a deal and he goes on tours, he's gonna fucking OD. You know what I mean? Or he's gonna fucking, you know what I mean? He's gonna have 12 baby mamas. You know what I mean? And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are the what ifs. I think like, those are probably the only what ifs I'm comfortable of thinking. Like, well, what if I did that? Maybe it could have been bad. You know what I mean? Like instead of like the what ifs, like, well, what if I didn't, try doing this podcast shit? Because other than that, like I would, I'm not plagued with wondering what if. Like I will get my feet wet before I dive in the deep end type of shit. You know what I mean? Like I like to dabble, so I know what I'm talking about, and I don't sound as much drivel. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love that. It's funny. You learn something. You learn something new every day, right? Like I didn't know that was. I was gonna actually ask you what was the what does it mean? Like, is there a meaning behind Drivel? And it actually, that's tight. It's something that derives from your childhood, something that stuck with you. You know what I mean?
It just means nonsense. That's all. And really, like, when we sit there on the microphones and we're talking about these professional athletes who are doing things that we dreamed of as kids, and we're grading and critiquing them, it's really just all nonsense. For us to be doing that. Like at least like you're dispensing advice on a game that somebody's playing, and we are ushering out our opinions about people who are doing something at the elite level, where it's like, really, we're just hanging out, and our show is kind of like more of a cookout barbershop feel, and I don't ever want anybody coming and saying, oh, this guy says this thing and he's an idiot. It's like, well, yeah, I mean,
it's like,
sure,
hello, it's Project Drivel. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, no, you know what? No, I totally hear you because, like on the Run Boys Fantasy Network, you know what I mean? Like, shout out to my homie Robbie, man. Like, Robbie's funny because, he wants to be edgy and he wants to be, super over the top. But then he also wants to be concise, and you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I'm more, I'm like, well, you're going to have to steer me then, because like, I'm more over the top, you know what I mean? And I'd sprinkle in a little bit of, isms as far as being concise, you know what I mean? But so, it's I guess it's to each his own. I mean, like, I appreciate your content because I identified with it. Like, I do like the barbershop-esque type of, vibe. I do like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like, listen, I'm not to judge any person who, might be versed in whatever it is they talk about, right? Because 9 times out of 10, we're just people with an opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same way Tony Romo is awesome as a commentator because he played the game. But then it doesn't work for everybody. You throw in Jason Witten, and it's like, oh, no.
Oh, man, that was a shit show.
This is trash. You know what I mean? You might have played the game for years on years, but goddamn, all you can do is talk about the tight end. Well, look at the way the tight end blocked right here. It's like, you listen, there's other shit going on besides the tight end. You know what I mean? And
well, it's also for that, it's timing and personality, right? And you have the personality down. So once you hone the craft and the delivery of how to, and how to be in front of a mic, then you elevate yourself.
Yeah. And for your case too, part of your origin story was, putting yourself in front of cameras. You know what I mean? Putting you're making your articles speak for yourself. Or in this case now that, you're putting out your podcast. So it's like, it's all representations of your personality, you know what I mean? Which is awesome because, let's be real, playmakers know this. You can't manufacture personality. You know what I mean? You can make it look real good on social media and shit like that, but like, listen, you get in the room and just to be able to shoot the shit. Like, for example, this podcast, we lightweight had a show sheet. We just been kind of shooting the shit, man, and I really much enjoy stuff like this. And I listen to stuff like this. Like, I think the conversation art is something that is appreciated these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that is what podcasting is at its best form. It's just two people exchanging ideas, thoughts, history, where they've been, and allowing other people to sit in on that. That's the joy of what podcasting is at its best form. And information. You can get information if you listen to the right podcast, good, useful information. I wanted to back up real quick and say one other thing for any young people listening, the allowing the perception of failure, right? Like, don't allow other people to determine what's a failure. Because, like, for me as an actor, a lot of people would say, oh, you tried to be an actor and you failed. Just because I never reached my dream, which was to be greased up in body butter and Fast 9, standing there saving the world next to Dom Toretto. I didn't reach that goal, but I also had a lot of success. I got to be on sets. I got to be on Warner Brother lots. I got to make you make good money as a commercial actor. I made some really good coin, doing commercials. So it's like,
for sure,
I made money.
I'd imagine you get some royalties too, right? For some of those commercials, you get consistent checks, right? For some of those commercials.
Yeah. I did a job for Toyota, made a bunch of money for them. Carnival Cruise Line, made some good money doing stuff for them. So, like, you make good money, but, like, the things that I'm most proud of is, like, I did a series that I think people would actually enjoy. Go check out Drake Fam Club. It's written by my comedy team partners and one of my comedy friends and I. We play Drake's nerdy brother and sister who are trapped in Canada. He's, like, sort of trying to keep us low key because we're not super cool.
Yeah.
And that won tons of awards all over. We won awards for that in the comedy realm in, like, Korea and in Italy, and it played here at the Chinese theater, famous in Hollywood. When I came here, I said, I want to see myself. I want to see my name, or I want to see myself on one of these movie screens.
Yeah.
Well, I got to see it. I got to experience. I got to be in a room filled with people laughing at me, coming up afterwards and being like, man, like, that's really funny. This was my favorite part. And then I could be like, oh, yeah, this is what was going through my head when I was improvising this moment about, why I prefer to eat macaroni and cheese straight out of the box with hot water. Like, whatever ridiculousness was going on in the moment. It's just – so I don't consider my time as an actor as a failure. It was a huge success.
Hell yeah.
Hey, I don't have a ton more time, but do you want to talk any of this Super Bowl?
Yeah. Okay, let's just we'll rapid fire real quick. So, Super Bowl, we'll switch gears real quick. So, Super Bowl, Chiefs, Bucks, Tom Brady and company, first ever at home. Bucks +3. What are we looking here? Patrick Mahomes, he's down like 3 offensive linemen. You know what I mean? Does that matter? You know what I mean? Because in a nutshell, I think before there used to be a saying don't bet against Brady and the Patriots. I think that new saying is just don't bet against Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'm that's where I'm at.
I hope that is the narrative after next Sunday. I just had a post. You can go back. It's like 2 or 3 posts. Anybody out there? I'm over Tom Brady. To me, watching Tom Brady win another Super Bowl would be like you sitting in on a poker game and Jeff Bezos is playing, the guy who's a local custodian and all the money's in the middle. And you're like, man, I really hope Jeff Bezos takes this pot, man. I just want to see him get a little bit more money in his pocket. Amazon had a down quarter. I need this guy to get some more money. Screw that, dude. I am rooting so hard against Tom Brady. Every person who's like, oh yeah, I like winners, man. Really? Patrick Mahomes is a winner too. Why can't you like that winner? Like, why do we want Tom Brady to just have insurmountable success?
Man, I think it's because I'm gonna say this. This is really how I feel. I think it's because he's white. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
Oh man, I don't disagree with you.
Because that's their norm. This is the norm. You know what I mean? They're used to seeing the hero be the white guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's rare you see the brother on top. To be honest, so a lot of people. That's just for the most part, the loudest voices. You know what I mean? On social media and stuff like that. A lot of them. They're trolls. So. You know what I mean? There's the people that are Brady people, and then on top of that, there's the people that they just hate on the black man, bruh. So what I mean? They're going for Brady. You know what I mean? And they use things like, oh well, I want to see history and I want listen. We already been seeing all that. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, I love Andy Reid. I love Bruce Arians too. But hey, give it, man. I want to see Andy Reid go back to back. You know what I mean? Like on the team that knocked him off. You know what I mean? And for them to go back to back, the Patriots back in the day, they were the last team to go back to back. And you know what I mean? That second one in a row was when Andy Reid, lost with the Eagles. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of storylines where I love stories where here's a guy like Andy Reid, like he's making his way back to kind of right the ship on things he failed in the past. And, it was always Belichick and Brady in his way. And ironically, here we go again. You know what I mean? Like, even 2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes was supposed to be in it 2 years ago. But goddamn D Ford wants to, line up off sides. You know what I mean?
D Ford, that...
Son of a bitch. You know what I mean? I lost a lot of money on that game. Because I was... Anyways, I digress. So you're on the Chiefs on this one with me.
I'm on the Chiefs to win the game. I keep telling my co-host I can't wait for like a 35-10, just a beatdown. The real problem is that this Bucs team they're not going anywhere. So even if they win this year, most of these guys outside of Curtis Godwin, I think, are going to be back.
Yeah, Chris Godwin's going to want a bag.
But then you see what he can do with Tyler Johnson and what's the other guy, Mickens, and Scotty Miller. And then if O.J. Howard can come back mid-season and be in good form, it's like, really, man, come on. I'm over it. I do like the fact that it gives me something to root against. And also, too, I'm going to get lined up here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and get myself the Patrick Price haircut because I got... And you know what? Also, I want to say this on your podcast. I said it on mine. Patrick Mahomes needs to stop getting so much credit for this haircut because I'm one of the OG light-skinned brothers who's been wearing that haircut much longer than him. Okay.
Hey man, he kind of got remember? I know you remember Kid and Play. He has the Kid haircut when Kid stopped having the high top fade. He's doing key. He has the Kid. He has the 1993 Kid hairstyle. You know
so we have we both have the loose curls. We can't really make the high top fade work with our style of hair.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite, it doesn't have the consistency.
Yes.
But I'll say this. I made it cool. He made it famous. If Patrick can agree with me to meet in the middle, I'll be good. Me and Patrick can be buddies.
Yes, you know what I'm saying? Well, okay. I got just rapid fire right here before, and then we'll close this thing out. You know what I'm saying? I know you're married to a Filipina, so it kind of makes us cousins. You know what I mean? All right,
Damn.
so I just want to fire off some rapid fire Filipino dishes and just whether or not you fuck with them or not. So we'll start off with dinaguan.
Pass. I'm not
Pass?
even sure what it is, but when they say it,
It's the chocolate meat. It's the pig's blood.
oh yeah. No, that's a hard pass.
That's delicious. Okay, kare. It's the one with the oxtails, and it has the tripe and like all different kind of but it has the peanut butter sauce, and then you have a side of bagoong. And the bagoong is like it's like kind of like a shrimp paste. You know what I mean? And so I'd imagine you're passing on that too.
You like as soon as you said shrimp paste. But here's the thing: they do make an oxtail soup that I can have the broth, and I'll pour the broth over my rice to give my rice some flavor. But I'm not messing with all the oxtail soup. That one's not for me either.
Okay, last one. So this one's obviously we're going 3 for 3 on the hard pass. But balut, you know what that is?
Yes, I do, and that one is always a no-go.
Yo, even I don't fuck with that shit.
I don't like. Sometimes I will go. They have these fiestas where they go and they raise money to do the missions to send stuff back to the Philippines.
Yes.
And I'm all for it. I'm like, if you want my money, you can have it. Here you go. But I am not coming here to eat the faces of all of these animals. Like they literally will have like my father-in-law will sit and eat like fish heads. And I was telling you, we were texting this week. And it literally smelled like somebody roasted a dead body. And they start cooking at like 10 o'clock in the morning and just let that shit marinate, like ruminate in the whole house. And you're like, break the window. Come on, Pa. The hell?
Bro, I'm laughing because it's so true. You know what I mean? It's all in preparation. Like sometimes,
they made that chicken adobo, and that shit's fire. Chicken adobo is one of my favorites.
Yeah, chicken adobo, pork adobo, beef, whatever it is, man. That shit's fire, dude. And like then the next day, I'll make like a garlic fried rice with the leftover meat, and I'll shred it up. Yes, you know what I mean? Dial it up. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, this was awesome, man. We got it. We're definitely gonna do this again.
Definitely, man. I had a great time. I'm gonna start doing some live shows, like YouTube Live. I'm trying to figure out how to use StreamYard and stuff, and have you come sit with me and Drew and talk some nonsense about football, basketball, whatever's going on. Mike Tyson is president.
Yeah,
all topics are available on Project Drivel.
Oh yeah, man. I'm looking forward to my brother and Playmakers. Like I said. You check out his content, his podcast, Project Drivel, is on all streaming platforms. You know what I mean? I'll have all the links to his social medias in the description of this episode. Man, it was great, man, because the next time I bring you on, we can get right to like all the meat and potatoes, because I actually enjoy bringing people on and their first time. I want the story. You know what I mean? And like, you know, because I just enjoy that. I enjoy... instead of seeing people as just usernames and stuff like that and avatars, like, I like to actually, kind of peel back the layers a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, this to me is great. There's like a bond form, so like it will make more sense when I tell you why Brett Favre is way better than Aaron Rodgers. You know, when you bring me back, I'll explain to everybody about the old school GOAT in Green Bay and why Aaron Rodgers can't do nothing to touch that man.
Well, shit, Aaron Rodgers, he only got to 1 Super Bowl. Brett Favre got to 2, so he got that on him. You know what I mean?
Yep, we can start there, and I'll continue. But, so on another episode, we can get more into what the Playmakers, really love and hearing people chop it up about sports.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you again, my brother Tony Tucker, ladies and gentlemen. Hey!
My pleasure.
For sure. Have a good one, brother.
Peace.
Peace.